Tony Windsor, thanks for your time.
My pleasure.
You and Rob Oakeshott are both considering your positions when it comes to Craig Thomson. What are the options? Obviously, you don't like what you've seen in that Fair Work Australia report, but what can be done other than bringing down Mr Thomson and the government?
Well, there's not a lot of options. Craig Thomson, like every other member of Parliament, has the right to sit in the Parliament. There can be suspension motions in terms of suspend him from the Parliament for a period of time. I'm not likely to back that sort of stuff because he has the presumption of innocence. There are allegations against him, but no charges. And what I think we've got to be very careful of is that we don't convert the Parliament into the judge and jury on issues such as this, because of the delicate way the numbers are. The numbers are like this at the moment for a number of reasons, but in future parliaments, if there's a precedent set where one side can actually use its numbers to start ejecting other people because of allegations, well, all sorts of things would start to play havoc. And I think we've been able in our history separate the powers of the Parliament from the powers of the court. Having said that, I think, and I went to see Craig Thomson yesterday morning, like everybody else, I'm shocked at the allegations that are in the Fair Work Australia report. And I suggested to him yesterday that, he may be best to explain himself to the Parliament when he can get the opportunity. And he had intended to do that anyway. So, and I'm pleased about that. I think people need to know what his views are in relation to that report.
So much comes down now to what he says in that defence in a couple of weeks, doesn't it?
Well, I'm going to be listening very carefully to it, but I think he has the right to have that reply. Obviously, he has his views. I discussed some of those with him yesterday. I'm not going to discuss them publicly, but I think he has the right to get those views out there, and people can adjudicate from there.
And I suppose when you say people can adjudicate, it really comes down to you and Rob Oakeshott can adjudicate, because the survival of the government rests on your support of the government and for that matter, Craig Thomson at the moment.
Yes, I don't think we can just suddenly throw governments and members of Parliament out on the basis of allegation. We do have due process, and that process needs to apply in all cases. We can't just pick and choose because the numbers are delicate and whatever else. There's a senator in the House at the moment, and she's a friend of mine. She's married to a good mate of mine. We didn't carry on this sort of nonsense then. We saw that there was a case to answer, and the appropriate authorities dealt with that case. And I don't want to be in the position. And there is pressure out there, there's no doubt about that. People want to hang Craig Thomson just on the suspicion. Most people don't know a lot about what it all means and how the legal processes will work, whether it's legal for a union to give money to the Labor Party. Well, they've been doing that for years. And whether all the processes and protocols have been covered. They're the sorts of things that will come out. We can all make allegations about people, but thankfully, in this country, we've actually got to prove those allegations. If they're proven in Craig Thomson's case or in anybody else's case, the due processes of law will apply, and if that means that someone has to leave the building, well, that's it.
So regardless of what he says in a fortnight, you would still lean towards allowing him a day in court to have the legal processes exhausted before you were to remove your support from him in the Parliament, but the government more generally?
Well, anything can happen, Kieran, but I don't want to get too far. I haven't heard what he's got to say or what he'll be actually talking to the Australian people as well as the Parliament, and that's a good thing. I can't preempt what can happen after that, and I'm not doing that to sort of create some sort of ongoing episodal drama. That's where I'm at. I thought it was appropriate that he addressed the Parliament, and so does the opposition. I think most of the Labor Party do as well. The Australian people want him to address the Parliament. He wants to address the Parliament, so let's hear what he's got to say. If there's a whole range of other issues come out of that, well, let's look at them when and if they do. The other thing that has to happen is we've got to wait and see whether he's actually going to be charged with anything. If there's charges and there's due process, there could be a range of options that apply then.
And finally on this issue, when it comes to the legal costs being paid by the Labor Party. The pecuniary interest register apparently hadn't been updated in time. What do you make of this latest elements of the story?
Well, it's not good. It adds to the flavour that's out there that something dodgy is going on. So, but I wouldn't say that's the first time that the pecuniary interest issue, where people have been late lodging their claims or their reports, etc. But there again, if that's guilt, well, I think that Parliament would be nearly empty. Let's see how all that plays out. I've read it on the front page of one of the papers. I haven't seen any real documentation on that. I assume it's correct.
Tony Windsor, thanks.
Thanks, Kieran.